good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started with our class this morning. As Zach mentioned, we've got a little bit of a different format for our class time today. We're going to spend a little bit of time in Acts chapter 2, and then we're going to spend a good chunk of time in a thing that most of us don't really enjoy, but it's kind of necessary, right? For those of you that went to college, one of the things that you always do, that very first class, it seems like, in all of your courses, you have that go over the syllabus part of class, and it stinks, and nobody cares. And I saw an article recently where a teacher had put in his syllabus directions to something in the room where if you read that far and got to that, you would open it up, and it was like $50 or $500 or something. Not a single person in the class got that, because not a single person actually read through all of the syllabus. We don't enjoy taking in a lot of information, but the problem is when we don't take in information, we have no idea what's going on, right? And so as we think about the new year and we think about, what do we need to do to grow as Christians? Well, one of the things that we need is to know what in the world is going on with the church here, what we need to be involved in, what we can be involved in. And if you're like me, I like plans. I like knowing what's going to happen. And I didn't follow my own advice, but yesterday I thought, I should probably figure out what I'm going to do for my reading plan for the year, for my Bible reading. And so we started trying to figure that out. Like so many other things in our walk of faith, it is really easy to say, I want to grow as a Christian this year. I want to get in my Bible more. And then we don't know what to do next, right? We have this idea of we want to be better. We want to grow stronger. And that's as far as the idea gets, right? We say, I don't know what that looks like. What does that mean? Well, one of the things that we feel as leaders, the elders, and then Zach and I as the evangelists and ministers, we feel it's important for our role to be encouragers to you, to equip you, to help you grow. And so the things that we put together are based on that focus. What is going to help the congregation grow, not just numbers-wise, but individually. And in Colossians chapter 1 and verse 28, the Apostle Paul talks about the key importance of presenting everyone mature in Christ. And that is our desire ultimately. And so what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about kind of being involved together and then what we've got going on in 2022. If you are not getting the church emails, you're missing out on just a weekly update. We've got the bulletin, we've got the Facebook page, but if you want to know what's going on, I try to do that every week to let you know what's happening and maybe what's coming up shortly. So if you're not on that or you're not receiving that, let me know and I'll get that information added in. But Zach mentioned we're going to spend just a few minutes in Acts chapter 2. He read it this morning. After the first 41 verses are Peter's sermon, basically, to those that are gathered there on the day of Pentecost. And then in verse 42 it says, "And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers, and awe came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. And all who believed were together and had all things in common, and they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all as any had need. And day by day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved." And you think about what is Luke recording for us about the early church? And it was they spent time together. And not just spending time together, because again, you can spend time together and not accomplish anything. You can be in the presence of people and not accomplish anything, right? You could walk through Walmart. You are in the presence of hundreds of people. Does that mean anything? No, not at all, right? You haven't done anything with those people. And so we can be together, but that's not really the only idea that we want to focus in on. It's what are we doing together? And we see from the early church what they were doing was they were studying and they were eating together and they were remembering Jesus together and they were praying together. Well, in order for us to do all of that together stuff, we have to then obviously be together. And again, what's the challenge, right, is that doesn't tend to happen spontaneously. How often do you go somewhere throughout your week and you run across another Christian? Pretty rare, right? I almost never see any of you where I go. So most of you don't patronize the establishments on the east side of town. I never run into almost anybody, and it's a shock when I do, right? Because we don't just happen upon each other. And you're not going to just happen into a Bible study with fellow Christians at some point in the week when you just walk into it. There's got to be planning involved. There's got to be consideration for how are we going to grow, because we need to be together to grow. We need to encourage one another in our growth. We're meant to have those relationships. It's not just a singular thing where it's just me. that it's all about what I'm doing, but it's together. And the challenge that we're presented with, right, is we're busy. Our schedules get filled up very quickly. And so, especially with work, if you've got kids or grandkids, what's going on with them, all of the things that we have in our lives, you start to go through all of that and you say, wait a second, I don't have time for anything else. Well, what do I do here? Well, as Zach kind of mentioned, well, we prioritize, right? We pick the things that we think are significant and we do them. And so the challenge for us, right, is figuring out, okay, we have things that, your work, you can't say, listen, work, sorry, I got a Bible study at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I can't come in today. Your work's going to say, well, if you don't do that, we're going to fire you. Well, some things you're just kind of stuck with, right? You don't have an option in that. But there are other areas where you can say, well, I've got this and this and this. Which thing am I going to prioritize? Well, we hope you'll prioritize those things that we're putting together. And we know you can't make every single one of them. We know we've all got different schedules, but we hope some of these things will be a blessing to you and encouragement to you, figuring out how to fit that into your schedule. So with that being said, we're going to spend some time talking about what we've got coming up in particular, but I want to make two quick announcements about two things that we've got going that are not really events, they're just things. One of them has already started. If you've been downstairs, we've got the vinyl flooring, whatever that stuff is called, downstairs underneath where the tables are going to be for potluck and whatnot. And then the rest of the downstairs is going to be, well, not the rest. The main area is going to be carpet tiles. If that works really, really well, then probably sometime in the future, we will finish out up here as well and replace all of the carpet in the building at some point. But we're going to try the carpet squares out. Some of you do not handle coffee cups very well, and you drop them. And that includes, me. As I don't drink coffee, but if I did drink coffee, I'm sure I'd spill it. We do that, and so you can look around here, you can look around downstairs. There's kind of messes everywhere. And so we're hoping the carpet squares will allow us to spill coffee on a carpet square enough times that we eventually say, hey, let's put a new one there, and then we don't have to replace everything, but just one little square. And so that's one of the things that we've got going on right now, and so it'll be maybe a mess down there a little bit, but the other thing, and this is exciting because you guys have asked about this, we are going to add parking. We finally got approval from the city to add parking downstairs, and so, let's see, here, if you're outside, there's the lower level. We're going to go back up to the fence, basically, and kind of around a little bit of the back side of the building. And we're going to get, I think, is it 15-ish spots, Tom? Does that sound right? And so you may say, well, only 15 spots. Well, here's the problem. If we add 15 parking spots, you know what we run out of? Seats. We can't really put that much more parking spots in because we don't have enough room in the building to put people in seats. So if they showed up, they'd come in and say, well, I guess we'll leave because we can't sit anywhere. So that's kind of what we think is going to be a good kind of middle ground of parking spaces available and seats in the auditorium. And so that's something that we don't have scheduled yet, but we've just in the last month or so got final approval from the city on the ability to do that. And so that'll happen hopefully sometime in the spring or summer, depending on companies' schedules. Any questions on either one of those things? Go ahead, Rudy. Nice. Yes, those are a couple of things that are needed, and so we're looking forward to that. All right, let's talk about what's coming up. We got several things that I want to mention, and I hope these will be an encouragement to you as we walk through the new year. So the first thing I want to mention is just the big events that we've got coming up over the year, and then we'll kind of get into some specific things that kind of come up each month, each week. So we don't have anything big scheduled in January, but in February we have the Sweetheart Banquet for those that would like to do that. I think about that it's a fun time. The guys make the food, the ladies vote on the food. We should do a reverse sometime, but that would get the guys slapped, and so we're not going to do that. For some reason, ladies can judge men's food, and it's okay, but you cannot do the reverse. You can try it at potluck today, but I promise you it will go poorly if you do that. But that's one of the things that we do. The guys and ladies get together, and the guys make the food, the ladies vote on the food. We have a good time with that in February, usually in the middle of February. One of the new things that we're doing this year is an apologetics seminar. So a few months ago, we sent out a survey, and we asked what are some of the things you would like to study, to know, to deal with. And one of the top ones was apologetics. And it's a big fancy word for basically defending your faith. It's being able to explain why you believe the things that you believe, or maybe even concluding why we believe the things that we believe. Maybe you say, well, I don't know, why do we believe that? Why should I trust the Bible? Why do we really feel so strongly that Jesus was raised? Well, we're going to deal with that in March 25th, 26th, and 27th. We've got a guy named Eric Lyons from Apologetics Press. He's a member of the church down in Montgomery, Alabama. He's going to come up and be with us, he and his wife, for a few days. We're going to have 2 lessons on Friday, 2 or 3 on Saturday, and then 3 on Sunday. And we're going to deal with the Bible, why we believe the Bible, why we believe in the resurrection. And you may say, Clint, I've been a Christian for longer than you've been alive. I don't need that lesson. Well, I would guess somebody that you know does need that lesson. And you may have in your mind a great reason for why you believe in the Bible and why you believe that Jesus was raised, but you may not be able to explain that, or it may not be a very good reason. And so this is going to give us some more things to consider and to strengthen and encourage our faith. And so that's going to be March 25th, 26th, and 27th. So please put that on your calendar. That'll be here at the building. And we'll get more specific information out about that as we get a little bit closer. In April, we've got Leadership Training for Christ for our young people, 3rd grade through 12th grade. They'll go down and do some events in Kansas City. They can sing. There's some Bible study kinds of things they can do. They can read Scripture. There's all kinds of things just encouraging them to grow in their faith a little bit. And so that is, it's over Easter weekend in April. And then we've got another seminar, and we've never done 2 in 1 year, but another seminar in May 13th, 14th, and 15th. We've got a guy named Bob Turner coming in. I don't know Bob personally. I've talked to him on the phone. He worked with the church that I used to work with in Oklahoma, and my dad has worked with him a little bit as well. But he is a leadership teacher. And what he's going to do, and he's geared specifically not to business leadership, but to the church. That's what he comes and he helps congregations, and he does 2 things in particular. He's going to talk about vision. And Zach talked about that a little bit today with what are we doing? Right? And how do we have a unified vision as a church? Because if we're all just kind of doing our own thing, it's really hard to do the work of the body. And so he's going to talk about vision, and then he's going to talk about developing leaders. And you may say, hey, we've got leaders right now, and we do. But you know what? We're not always going to have those leaders. And what we want to make sure we have is we always have leaders. The last thing that we want is the church to get to a point where we're desperate for leaders and we don't have anybody. And so part of what he's going to do is help us understand what do we need to do to develop leaders, future elders, future deacons, maybe those who will go into ministry, but how do we develop leaders? And you say, oh, well, I'm not going to be a leader. That's not anything that's important to me. But here's the thing, right? How do we select leaders if we don't know what to look for in leaders? Or how are we going to select leaders if we're not developing them right now? They don't just pop up, right? They take time and consideration. And so we're going to have him come in May to do that with us. And then in June is our Bible camp. And so if you'd like to be a part of that, you can talk with several people here. You can talk with me, and we'll kind of figure out where you can get plugged in. But that's for our 4th grade through 12th grade. And then we've got 2 other things I'll mention, and I'll open it up for any questions. So in last August, and this is going to be a hard sell, I realize, so I know, but last August I got invited to speak at a camp in North Dakota, at a retreat, and it was good. The camp is really a really cool setup. It's 6 hours away. So for those of you who don't ever leave like Sioux Falls, you're like, 6 hours? Get out of here. I drive to Oklahoma, several times a year, so 6 hours is a short trip in that regard. But it's in Devil's Lake is where it's at, a really cool campground there. They'd like us to come up as a congregation, and so if you're interested in that, that's something that will happen. It was the first weekend of August last year, and so if that's something that you would like to get more info on, I'll have that as the year goes on. And then the last one I'll mention is in September, we have our annual clothing giveaway. We just did that not too long ago, but that is something we do downstairs in the basement. We provide clothing free of charge to anybody in the community who would like some, and so that's one of the outreach things that we do. So those are several of the events, the big events that are coming up throughout 2022. Any questions on any of those? Yes. Yes, so I do have a little sheet here that I will pass out near the end that's got all of the big things that I just mentioned, and then it'll have the weekly stuff. And then we have tried some calendar things in the past that they always fizzle out, but we may do that again if need be. But I do have all the dates for this on there. Any other questions on the big events before we get into the specific weekly stuff? It is June 12th through the 17th. Okay. That one I did not have down. Also, if I miss the event that is really important to you, I'm sorry now. I did not intentionally miss any events. But as I was even getting ready last night, I remembered more things that I had forgotten. So with that being said, let's get into some of the regular things. And so I want you to think about the stuff I'm about to talk about is the day-to-day stuff. If you're married, the stuff we just talked about is like date night, anniversary, birthdays. It's the really big stuff, right, that you don't want to forget. But it's the regular, everyday kind of stuff that's really significant, right? If you skip all the regular stuff and you just do the big things, what happens? Well, it doesn't go very well, right? If I forget everything to do throughout the week for my wife, but I remember her birthday, she's not going to say, but he remembered my birthday, right? That doesn't matter. The birthday will be totally unimportant at that point, right? And so when we talk about, well, what are we going to be involved in? We want those big things, but it's the weekly things that are going to be significant for us. And so we're just going to go through each day of the week. And you know what, Rudy, you mind passing these out for me? And then you can jot anything down that you want to on that. But on Sundays, obviously, we have our regularly scheduled stuff like we've just done today with our worship service and our class time. I want to mention two things that you may not know. Number one, we have a young adult class for those that would like to be in that. It's right in the room, just right through that. Not through that wall because you'd have to go through the wall, but around and through the door where Mac has got a class going on in there. So any young adults who would like to be a part of that, feel free to go there. And I guess young adult is a relative term depending on how young you feel. You may get kicked out if you're too old. The other thing is if you miss a service or a class or you're gone for some reason, all of our stuff, all of our sermons, all of our classes, all of the worship services, they're all online. You can go to our Facebook page. You can go to YouTube and just type in Sioux Falls Church of Christ and you'll find them that way. And then they're also on the website. We have a sermons and studies tab. If you click on that, there's a little area there that's got all the videos. And so you can go back. Basically, everything we've done since we started doing the videos is all there. And that's also something that if you want to share with somebody else, if there's a lesson or a Bible class that you feel like is, somebody would be interested in, you can share that from that as well. And then as far as Sundays in particular, so the first Sunday of the month is potluck, and that is today. And so there is a potluck downstairs if you'd like to join us for that. The fourth Sunday of the month is our fourth Sunday fellowship, and we're changing that this year. And so it's actually going to be at the Opheim's house this month in January. And we'll see how that goes. If it doesn't fit, then we'll break it into two groups, and we'll have two groups over the winter months, and then in the summer we'll combine and do like an indoor-outdoor kind of thing. But it will not be at Tom's house starting this month. It will be at the Opheim's, and we'll kind of see how that goes as far as space-wise and go from there. The fifth Sunday of the month is area-wide singing, and this coming month is in Brookings. And then Michelle told me that for our kids groups, KFC is what it's called, but for our young people, the last Sunday of the month is going to be the activity day for them. And we're not going to have one this month. It'll start in February. But starting in February, the last Sunday of the month, if you have young children, they're going to be an activity for them on that day. And then the final Sunday thing I'll mention, and then I'll open it up for questions, is we're going to start a new class. It's going to be a questions class on Sunday afternoons from 2 to 3. That will be here in the auditorium. I'm going to be leading that, and it's going to be the first and the third Sundays of the month. So it's not starting today. We were just on vacation, and I'm not ready, but we'll start that on the 16th of this month. So basically what we're going to do is there's a question box out there. If you'd like to, any question that you would like to ask about Scripture, about living as a Christian, or anything along those lines, you can write it down, put it in that box. You can come talk to me. I do not have to share that you asked the question. If you think, this is the dumbest question, I don't want anybody to know I ask it, that's fine. I won't say that it's dumb, and I won't tell who said it. But basically, whatever you want to ask, we're going to dig into. And our goal is going to be, let's start with Scripture. What does God say about this? And then we'll kind of figure out, well, what does that mean on this or on that? Because there are some things that are cut and dry. But most of that you don't have questions about, right? It's the stuff that's not so cut and dry. It's the stuff where you say, well, this verse says this and this verse says that. How do I get those things to fit, or how do I understand this? And so we're going to talk about that. One of the questions I've already gotten is, what's the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit? What's the unforgivable sin that's mentioned there? And so we're going to talk about that on the 16th. But it's that kind of stuff. And so if you have any questions, feel free to ask those to me. or send them to me, and we'll deal with those as we go throughout the year. It's going to start the first and the third Sundays. If it's going really well and we need to expand it, we will. If it goes really poorly and we need to decrease it, then we will, but hopefully that's not the case. I'm excited about it. I hope you are as well. But it's something that we're going to try to do, number one, because we have questions, and number two, I just mentioned we're going to have someone come in to help us develop leaders. Well, one of the things that we need to have is opportunity for men to teach so that they can develop into leaders, not just personally, but even in a leading a class setting. But if Zach and I teach every single class all of the time, that doesn't work very well. And so I'm going to start doing that on Sundays. Michael is going to start a class for us on Wednesday evenings 2 weeks from now, right? Not this Wednesday. Okay, so Michael's going to start teaching for us this Wednesday on Wednesday nights. And so that's Sunday. Any questions on any of the Sunday stuff? Yes, Nancy.
I see you miss Heart to Home on here, and ours is on Sundays, and then there's others on Tuesday.
Yes. So Heart to Home is a ladies' activity where they're divided into, I think it's 3 groups. Is that right? 3 or so groups. And those meet on different days. One of them does meet on Sunday. One meets on Tuesday, I think they said. And then there's another one. Is it Cheryl? Who's the one that organizes that? Cheryl. So find Cheryl if you if you're a lady who's not involved with that. Find Cheryl and she can get you plugged in with that. Any other questions? Yeah, Jamie. Yes. So we're trying to sort out what to do with that. Let's just be honest with everybody. I'm not super excited about the idea of me trying to work through difficult questions where the entire world can see that. Just in case I get done with one Sunday and think, you know what, I don't think we came to the right conclusion. I'm not super thrilled with that. That's my hesitation. The other part of it is if we do it online and you can't hear some of the comments and things very well, you may miss out on a lot of the context. And so we haven't quite worked it out yet. I'm leaning towards not doing it recorded, but if we can make it work well, then we'll try to do that if we can, because I know not everybody can make it with different things going on. But that is something we have considered and thought about. Yeah. Yes. So if we do have anybody who would be willing to help out so that we could have some parents be able to be in class for that, that would be great so that we could get some of those questions answered that they would like. And you may say, well, I don't have everything answered, but maybe they could use that information more, or we could take turns or something like that. For those of you that have kids, sometimes when you're wrestling them, you don't get anything out of anything. And so that's not super helpful. And so something we will keep in mind definitely. All right, so then let's just kind of go through the rest of the week. This is a little quicker than Sunday. And again, I'll stress this. We want you to be involved, but we don't expect you to do every single thing because that's not possible. We don't expect you to be at every single event, every single month, every single week, because you may not be able to. You got vacation, you're sick, you got all kinds of things. Thank you, Rudy. But these are just things that you can be involved in, and we would encourage you. So Monday we have one thing going on. We have a Monday night Zoom Bible study. We do that all virtually, obviously, and so if you want to be a part of that, we got about eight or so families that have been doing that for about a year now. If you would like to be a part of that, just know you have to be comfortable having your face on camera for about an hour, and we share some conversation back and forth. We've talked a lot about Jesus over the last year. But we're going to continue kind of digging into some different things. And so if you'd like to be a part of that, I send out a link each week with the reading and the Zoom link. And so if you would like to be a part of that, get with me. Here's the downside. This is the downside you're going to get a lot with me. It's late. It's 8 p.m. So I was at my grandma's house a few days ago, spent the night. She was in bed well before 8. If you're on that spectrum, this is not for you. But it's after my kids are in bed, and I don't have to then say, here, wife, have fun while I do something else. So I help her get all the kids down, and then we start a Bible study at 8 o'clock. And so if you're interested in that, you can get with me, and I'll get you the information. Tuesdays, I don't have anything other than Heart to Home for one of the groups is on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, we have a few things. The first Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m., there's a ladies' Bible study here at the building. The first and third Wednesdays of the month, there is a ladies' Bible study at 7:45. Nancy's the one to go to for information about that. Yes, Londa?
Did it change from Thursday? Because we've been doing it on
Thursday. Okay. I am.
and at my house, not at the building.
Okay. So there's one 6 p.m. Wednesdays, and then there's another one on Thursdays. The first and third Thursdays. That's hard to say. At 7:45 a.m. at Dave and Nancy's. And so if you would like to be a part of either of those are two ladies' things going on. And then at 7 p.m. we have our regular Wednesday night Bible classes like we've been doing for forever. So Thursday night there is a men's group that meets over at the Wilson's house. And again, if you're not a late person, it's not for you, but it's 8:30 is when we meet, 8:30 till who knows when, usually about 9:30 or 10. Well, 10. I better not lie to you. Usually about 10. So it runs a little late, but there's about 6 or 7 of us guys that get together each week, and we just kind of dig into some things. Right now, we're digging into apologetics. Again, defending our faith, talking about the resurrection. So any guys that would like to be a part of that, get with me or Larry, and we can fill you in on that. And then the last few things I'll mention, and then I'll open it up for any other questions. Saturday, the third Saturday of the month, we've been doing what's called Family Fun Night. We're not going to be continuing that in its same form. It's going to now become something, I don't know what the exact name, Family Night in the Park, Fun Night in the Park, something. But from about April until September, we're going to meet at the parks in town for that event. And then over the winter months, we will not be having that. So that is the third Sunday of the month. We will not be, or Saturday of the month. We will not be doing that until probably April or so. And then the fourth Saturday of the month is a men's breakfast here at the building at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then the very last thing I'll mention, and this is again one of the things that you can talk to Cheryl about if you want to be involved with it, but we have small fellowship groups that meet every month or try to meet every month. And so Cheryl kind of divvies all those up. And I think is it 4 or 5 families in each one. And so you can do anything. Within Christian morality. You can do anything. You can go bowling, you can watch a movie, you can go out to eat, you can stay in, you can do nothing, you can just sit around and talk. There's not an agenda other than the one that you set, but it's just the opportunity for Christian families to get together and hang out in whatever format that works for you all that month. So with all of that being said, are there any questions about the weekly things or the year things or anything? Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I just have a comment about the fellowship groups that you just talked about. The nice thing is that Cheryl has different families together every month, so it's nice to meet or get to hang out with people maybe you don't normally.
Yes, and if you don't like the group the first month, it will change, but don't not like them. No, it is an opportunity for you to meet a lot of different people, and usually you'll hear stories and just you'll get to know them a lot better than you do in this setting and really almost in any other setting. And so it does rotate around, and you get different environments for that. So, yeah, Judy. Yep. Yes. So Zach mentioned that one. They do a Bible study at 6 at their house on Thursday nights. And so if you would like to be a part of that, talk to Zach and Elizabeth as well and get plugged in there. And again, we've got a Bible study on Thursday right after that. There's some people like do both. Again, it's not, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to say, oh man, if I'm not at this, all of a sudden the elders are going to come and talk to me because I wasn't there on Monday or whatever. No, but again, as Zach mentioned, if we get through our week and we look around and we say, I spent 1 hour this week with other Christians, that's not going to cut it. And I don't say that as trying to you got to do everything. But I say that because, as Zach mentioned, in any other environment, if you committed 1 hour to something, it just doesn't work very well. We've got to be committed. And again, you've got your life and your schedule, but this needs to be a priority within that. Go ahead, Zach.
I can't remember when. I think it was maybe 6 months ago. I remember at one point the elders saying, encouraging me, saying, just find something. Find a Bible study. Find something midweek.
Yeah.
Elderly staff of broadcasting.
Right. One of the things that we realize, right, is there's just so much, and there's so many things that we can do and so many things that we can be involved in. You don't have to do all of it, but do be involved in portions of it. Do be involved in something, whether it's a weekly Bible study or multiple weekly Bible studies or the get-togethers or whatever they might be. And then again, definitely on the bigger events that we're doing, we'd really encourage you with that. For those of you that came in a little bit late, a couple of announcements we started with. The carpet has started down in the basement, and we're going to finish that out sometime, a few weeks probably, whenever. We had to order carpet, so the carpet will get here when it gets here. And then we will have the guys that are doing that finish that out. And we're not going to do the classrooms. We're not going to do anything else. We're just doing the main area down in the fellowship hall and dealing with that. And then, again, if that goes really well, the carpet squares work great, then we'll probably at some point move up here, the hallway and in the auditorium, but we're not to that point yet. And then secondly, we are going to be adding additional parking. We got approval from the city to add parking to the lower level, so we'll go from about where the garage area is back to the fence and over and around, I think, a little bit behind the building. And it'll change the dynamic down there a little bit, but hopefully get us enough parking that we can not have to figure out what to do when you show up and there's no parking. And we are able to fill up this auditorium as much as we can. Yeah, Rudy?
I would like to add that it feels kind of awkward or weird to go to old people's house. In my mind, it's like, wow, it's weird to go to old people's house. But after you are there and get to know each other, it's very rewarding. It's very joyful to know that we have many things in common. And we realize we don't know that until we actually interact with each other. So I am thrilled to say that I've tried to encounter everything throughout last year, and I especially wish to see everyone in many events this coming year too.
Yeah.
Be very awesome.
When we, again, a lot of these are different environments. Some of them are bigger. I know some of you hate small groups. Some of you love small groups. Some of you like ladies things. Some of you like guys things. Some of you don't like any of that stuff. What we hope is through all of this, right, something that you say, you know what, I don't like this. That's not really an environment that I really do well in, but I like this. Hopefully one of those works for you. And as Rudy mentioned, sometimes it'll be in somebody's home. Sometimes it'll be in the building, but it's in all kinds of environments, and we think you'll enjoy them. Again, they're not just time for us to be together, although that's a big part of it, but it's time to grow and to ask questions and to develop your faith, hopefully in a much stronger way as the year progresses. Go ahead, Judy. Yeah, we all fill our weeks with something, right? And the question is just what are we going to do with that? And that's one of the reasons why the Sunday afternoon class, that's why I did it on Sunday afternoon. I was looking at my schedule throughout the week, and it's like I can't do another night. I'm already doing 2 different Bible study groups on 2 nights, and then Wednesday night I can't do another one. But you know what I do on Sunday afternoon? I either stress out to the max watching the Cowboys play football, which is thankfully almost over, or I do nothing, because Sunday afternoons, most of us don't do much of anything, at least I don't. So I thought, you know what, that's a good time to have something, is Sunday afternoon, because you say, well, I'm busy, I work every night, right? I can't, well, that's fine. Most people don't work Sunday afternoon. If you work every night of the week, you probably have Sunday off, and so we're trying to give opportunities. So you say, well, you know what, I work Monday through Wednesday, and then I've got Thursday off. Well, there's a couple of things on Thursday. Or if you've got Saturday off, there's a couple of, again, the hope is something fits your schedule. If nothing at all fits your schedule, man, that is busy. And so I would encourage you to seriously consider that, of making time for these things, because, again, our hope is to grow and develop our faith And it's just really hard to do that by yourself, and that's not how God intended it to work. Any other questions, comments, anything? Again, go ahead.
For that freshman class, since we travel so far,
Yep.
obviously, it's hard for us to stay.
Yep.
All out on that Sundays, and if you're not going to televise it or like broadcast it, is there a way that you could like maybe even just do a summary or a recap? Because I'd really be
Sure.
interested in just like seeing what some of the questions are.
Sure.
That somebody answered.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do with all of I manuscript write everything that I do for my sermons and classes, and so I'm able to send files out with all of the stuff that I did. Theoretically, we could potentially, and if there are some other things that pop up in the class, we could have maybe that summarized and sent in that as well. Again, we're still working out how that's gonna go, but no, we can do some portion of that to make sure that if you can't make it, that we can get that information to you.
Yeah. Wait, another thing is, I like the fact that you were able to send the class lecture in paper to people or to their computers, because the fill in,
Oh, yep.
and because I've noticed that a lot of people are expecting that paper or even that on the computer in the morning, even if they cannot make it to church.
Sure. Yep.
So it's pretty awesome to know that, that's available for them.
Yeah, and Reese talking about the outlines that we have on Sundays for the sermons and whatnot. I'll wrap up with this and then we'll be done. If there is an idea that you have, you say, you know what, I would like this. I would think this would be a good idea. Or you think, you know what, I would love to host a Bible study at my house, but I don't know how to do that. I don't feel comfortable leading that. One of the things the elders have agreed to is they will provide resources. They will, the church can help get all that together, and we can have a teacher for that. But if there's something that you say, I've got an idea, or why don't you guys try this, I will not promise you right now that we will do what you say, because it might not work very well for us, but we will listen to it either way. And so if you have ideas, feel free to share them. If there's something on here that you say, hey, this is a good idea, but I don't think it's going to work because of this, or whatever it is, let me down gently on that last one. But whatever your suggestions are, we will take them and consider them. And again, the goal is not to fill your calendar up. The goal is not to be able to have a sheet at the end of the year that says we had so much participation. The goal is at the end of the year we have stronger Christians, that we're all more like Christ in our walk each and every day. That's the goal, and that's what we hope all of this will lead to, that being possible. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
As long as we're hammering people to get involved, how about a little plug for teaching Bible classes?
Yes. So if you've ever been a part of any church that I've ever been with, almost always has to beg for teachers. The church I grew up going to, it was a lifelong sentence. I think they're still teaching, all of those people that were teaching when I was there. We try not to do that. The problem is, if we don't have new people, then you are given a lifelong sentence of teaching every day or every week through eternity, which is a very good and shaping thing, but our teachers do get worn out. And so we particularly need children's class teachers. Just to be blunt and frank, parents get tired of their kids. They've been with them all week and they come to church and then they have to teach them more. That they do that. Our parents do teach, but it is nice when others who are not the parents can teach a little bit. The parents can get a break. Now again, it doesn't work for everybody. The first time I taught a kids class, I pulled a podium out. They don't do that. They don't go for the podium. It's just not a thing kids like. Second graders did not appreciate my podium. And so I changed. My wife mocked me and I changed the next day when I taught at VBS. But maybe it's not your thing. Yes. But when we talk about this, it's so important. Our young people are going to develop in their faith the same way our adults do. They need teachers to do that. And so, again, maybe you say, I'm not comfortable. I don't really know what I'm doing. A lot of people didn't know what they were doing, and they figured it out. We're not going to make you do that. We're not going to make you figure it out. We're going to give you tools. We've got curriculum, and we have other people who can help you learn the curriculum and teach the curriculum. And so that is another thing that we do need throughout the year, are those people to fill in those classes and teach. All right, let's end with prayer again. If you would encourage you to stay for potluck, I have no idea what's down there other than we brought goulash. That may not appeal to you, but if it does, we're going to meet downstairs right after this. And so let's wrap up with prayer. Father, we thank you for this time this morning. We're grateful for the church that meets here in Sioux Falls, and we ask that you would bless us with growth, that we would challenge one another to be more of who you have called us to be, that at the end of this year and really each day throughout it, that we would become more and more like Jesus. We are grateful that you are gracious and patient with us, that you continue to work in our lives, and we ask that as we enter into 2022 that you would bless us with wisdom, bless us with strength to do your will each and every day. Father, as we go down for our potluck meal, I pray that you would bless that food to our bodies and to strengthen us and give us a good time of fellowship together. We're grateful for this day, and it's in your Son's name that we pray. Amen.